When I'm not really enjoying getting lectured by strangers on an international flight about American politics, I like to answer questions and comments I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Lesson on how to use triads to stay in certain zones of the guitar neck. Like play all the chords in the key of G using the 3 to 6 fret range, using just triads. This is a great request for a lesson. I think this is one of the most important things that you could ever learn, is actually learning the same chords you already know, but in a totally different range of the neck. And I'll spot you a fret. I'll even just go, let's go 3 to 5th fret, right? A lot of people know the chords in the key of G in open position, but that 3 to 5th fret, it's like, oh. So we're gonna go through it. I'm rocking the Emerald Guitars Virtuo guitar today, by the way. But real quick, so open chords, key of G, we've got G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp, half diminished, back to G. Those are the 7 chords in the key of G as triads, right? Triad is just a 3-note chord. So you don't have to use all 6 strings when you play a G major chord. You can just use, 3 of the notes, G, B, and D. So finding these in a different position is super valuable, and we'll talk about some instances you could use this after I run through all the triads, right? So instead of playing open G major, we're gonna play a closed voice G major. The beautiful thing about learning it in just a 3-fret range, this is totally movable. We're not using any of the open strings to help us out. So this is just our 1 chord, key of G. We could do the same thing in the key of A or something, just move everything 2 frets higher, right? So here's G major, the 1 chord. I can just play it 3 notes if I want. 5D, 4G, 3B. I kind of like getting that A string in there. But yeah, there we go. There's the 1 chord, okay? So 2 chord is A minor. We can just break this shape down like this, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm taking my pinky and just flattening across the 5th fret of the G, B, and E string. So 1 chord to 2 chord instead of 1 chord to 2 chord. Again, these aren't better or worse. These are just options to have that are very valuable, which help in soloing, help in chord voicings, voice leading, all that stuff. 1 chord to 2 chord, all right? Now the 3 chord is B minor. We can just get this right here, which is essentially just A minor, 2 frets higher. So middle finger, ring finger on the 4th fret D and G string, pointer finger on 3rd fret of the B string. So 1, 2, 3, okay? Already it's got a much different sound, I think, than 1, 2, 3. But let's go to the 4 chord, C major. This one's really easy. It's just the A major shape on the 5th fret. Same thing as the A minor shape that we did earlier, but just move it, scoot it up a string, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, look how efficient that is with my fretting hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm already halfway through and I've barely moved my hand, right? And I think maybe that's something that if you get a good look at, professional guitar players, like really good guitar players, efficiency is one of the biggest differences between being like, maybe like a beginner intermediate player and an advanced player. A lot of times it's less about actual dexterity and more just about understanding of the fretboard and knowledge, right? So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And real quick, these are just triads, nothing fancy, just major and minor chords for the most part. But it's a good example to maybe talk about A minor versus C major. Combining them, you get an A minor 7 chord, A, C, E, G, however you want to cut that up. But again, it's good to know that it's there, and you can kind of use them interchangeably, C major and A minor, in different keys because they're only 1 note apart. And then adding that 4th note to make it like A minor 7, I think is a cool thing that you could do. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now the D chord, D major chord, I actually really prefer using the C major shape just straight up 2 frets higher. Now again, I said we weren't using open notes to help us out here. This is just something I want to touch base on because getting an open G or E, I think makes it really pretty in this specific key. Now what we can do is we can actually just take almost a cheater method here and just get the 5th fret of the E and A string, and then your middle finger on the 4th fret of the D string. And that's all we need. We've got the root note, D, it's fifth below A, and then it's major third, F sharp, right here. When I'm doing it, I kind of like getting at least a D on top, having your pointer finger grab the third fret of the B string. And then even if you don't want to get that open string, what I can do here is I can just lay my middle finger down a little bit so I don't hear the G string. So you're probably hearing a bit of a harmonic here, but in the scheme of like the actual chord, you're not going to hear that ring out, right? When you isolate it, you can definitely hear it, but there we go, right there. Okay, so that's the 5 chord. Now the 6 chord, super easy. E minor, right here. 5th fret on the D string, 4th fret on the G string, 5th fret on the B string. Okay, so again, look how efficient that is. I'm almost just kind of like pivoting, and my middle finger is really just kind of like massaging down the strings really to get into that, all right? And then the last chord, the 7 chord, half diminished or just diminished as a triad, is right here, F sharp, okay? Now I'm using A in the bass, ring finger in the bass, 5th fret, middle finger, there's essentially what I'm thinking of as my root note. A lot of these are inversions where the lowest note isn't actually the root note of the chord. There's my root note, middle finger, 4th fret on the D string, F sharp, and then it's flat 5, which is what's kind of special about that diminished chord on the 7 chord, right? So right there, 5, E, 4, D, 5, G. So let's run through them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, as compared to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So now, what I think the best use case of all this stuff is, especially if you're already maybe playing a song with open chords, maybe you just take one of those and replace it. Let's take the E minor chord. I think this is a really underrated minor chord voicing right here. So let's take this as the E minor, and let's just replace like an open E minor. So let's do something like G, B minor, E minor, C. And the second time, and maybe the third time, we replace the C. So again, there's a lot of cool different variations you can get just by understanding all this. And like I said, all of this is movable. If it's a key you're not familiar with, like let's say you don't play in the key of B flat that much, it's like, oh, the 1 chord is like B flat major, the 2 chords C minor, D minor, E flat. Well, just find where B flat is the root note on the E string, which is the 6th fret, and now all the stuff works. So like 1 right there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And then it's all just kind of like micro moving your hand shape around. And oh my gosh, you've learned so much just from kind of focusing on 3 different frets. Great to relive this trip in your video. It was so nice jamming with Claire and you and sharing these moments in Ireland. Take care. So this is from the video of me going to Ireland with Emerald Guitars. So they made me this Virtuo. This is a carbon fiber guitar, one of like the most high-end guitars I've ever had the pleasure of playing. And their factory is based in Northwest Ireland. So now they're doing this cool thing where they do these tours of Ireland, which I was on and I kind of documented in that vlog, which I'll link to if you want to watch the whole thing. It's actually a pretty funny video. And honestly, it's one of like the best ways to explore another country. Ireland is like my favorite country I've ever traveled to. I'm absolutely in love with everything about Ireland. So cool. I cannot recommend this highly enough. I do think that it's actually like a pretty good value to do it this way because you're taken care of. It's an all-in price that I think is pretty reasonable. I'll link you guys if you're interested in actually taking it yourself because, again, I know the guys at Emerald Guitars, they're awesome and they put on like a great trip. So if you do have ambitions to travel abroad, try something else new. In September, they're doing another tour, and it's such a cool thing because they really kind of run you all around the countryside and they take you to like the best spots. I learned so much culturally about the music there. It's kind of like a music tour, right? It's like you go to some of the coolest places like the lighthouses, the Ring Fort, just like the majestic scenery all over the place. And they have musicians kind of set up all along the way. So you really get like a good understanding of real local Irish music, which was just such a cool time. So thank you again to the people at Emerald, Alistair, and Kim for having me out. Great times all around. And like I said, I will link you in the description if you guys are interested in taking it yourself. There's only A-7. There's no such thing as a major 6 chord. C major 6 is just A-7 in a different inversion. Hilarious. This is kind of like what we were just talking about, right? Where we have, oh cool, A, C, E, and G. There's A-7, right? But if you start with a C in the bass, it's a C, E, G, and A, which is a major 6 chord, which according to this person, does not exist. There's definitely no difference between this chord and this chord. Doesn't matter how you stack it. C major 6 doesn't exist, guys. Fake news. I actually forgot you existed because YouTube stopped popping you up in my feed. Damn the algo. I guess I'll take this as a compliment. I forgot you existed. It seems like there's subtext saying that he's happy he remembered I existed rather than just I forgot you existed because you don't pop up on the homepage on YouTube anymore. Anyways, common complaint, worded a little differently than usual, but yeah, that's why I think I'm gonna start leaning into the mailing list more, where I can just kind of send links to what I think are like the best videos of like the week or the month. So gonna start to resurrect the mailing list because yeah, it's so hard for YouTube to get YouTube to actually alert people that a new video is up or show them on the homepage because it's so enraging and clickbaity and whatever. So if you are interested in continuing on with the state of my current existence, join that email list and I'll send blasts of like the highlights of what's going on YouTube. Sean Daniel Music has entered the chat. Hi, Joe Girls. So in the same vein, I was convinced to finally join Threads, like the new Twitter type thing. And this was the very first comment that somebody left, which is inappropriate / totally on brand. So just more platforms. Speaking of, amazing song choice. Great job, guys. I need to learn it. So this is Airbag, which one of probably my #1 all-time favorite Radiohead song. And it's just like a super fun one to play. And we did this with Kira for a demo of a lava guitar. And again, it's just such an interesting chord song with a great riff. So yeah, I taught that over on the Patreon if you guys are interested. I'll link you to that too. So for listening homework, I want to throw you to the new Hiatus Kaiyote. Hiatus Kaiyote is neo-soul. I don't even know how to really categorize this band, but their second album, Choose Your Weapon, is a pantheon album for me. I think it's one of the 5 to 10 greatest albums ever made. This is their newest one, and it's still got the same vibe. I don't love it as much as Choose Your Weapon, but I'm so glad that they're coming out with like new stuff. And it's always a very dense thing to listen to because there's so much going on musically. Just 4 like really elite musicians in the same band that work so well together, which is I think kind of rare to get 4 people who are super elite at what they do, but still mesh without being like too out there, even though it is still kind of out there. But anyways, love Hiatus Kaiyote. Give them a listen. Thank you to Emerald for having me out on that tour again, and the Virtuo. Like I said, click that link in the description. And if you guys have any questions or comments, hit me up on the website or in the comment section or Threads or wherever, and I'll talk to y'all soon.